Okay, we wanted to do a quick video on appraisals. It's become a pretty big issue in the home buying and selling market right now. Appraisals are kind of a professional valuation of what a home is worth. So in the buying process, anyone who borrows money of any kind whatsoever is going to need to get an appraisal. The lender is going to require that they send out a third party to evaluate the home and determine what it's worth. A lot of times those valuations are different that those of us in the real estate industry would make. So appraisers tend to be a little bit more conservative. They're afraid of a lot of the litigation that's come out of the last several years of the market where people were accusing lenders and appraisers of overvaluing properties and of fraud. So what we're finding is a lot of the time the appraisals are coming in either below what we need them to come in for to make a transaction work, or they're just coming in right where they need to. Even if the property is worth a lot more, appraisers are saying, basically they're worth about what the deal is agreed to because they're afraid of overvaluing property. So for a buyer, you want to be concerned with what are other properties in the area selling for, because that's likely to determine what that appraisal is going to come in at. Now for a seller, you want to be really aware of the same exact number, because you don't want to ask so much for a property that ultimately you're not going to be able to sell it, because your buyer is going to need to borrow money and not be able to get a loan for that amount based on an appraisal. Sometimes the opposite is important as well. If those numbers determine that your property may go for more, then you don't want to ask too little. So it's important to be aware that right now, generally in the market, appraisers are pretty conservative. So you want to make sure that you understand that they're kind of the gatekeeper on a lot of these transactions. Even if you have a willing buyer and a willing seller at a specific number, if that appraisal comes in low, you can protest it, but you have a small likelihood of being able to change that number. So a lot of times that's going to determine ultimately the price that a property is able to be sold for. So just know going in, the numbers that dictate an appraisal are going to have a significant impact on the purchase or sales price, depending on which side of that transaction you're on. So hopefully that's helpful, and we'll probably talk more about that in other videos.